Good evening, gentlemen, ladies. The one lady that comes in once in a while. Hello, hello, hello. Now, I was listening to. We have another video coming up, which is some women bitching about men. We'll have that in a minute. But Rollo Tomato was on Dr. Phil not that long ago. Like it was last November, and he had a whole 5-hour live stream on the whole experience. Link in the description. But he got to this point in the video where I thought, I got to tell Hammer Hands on Dead Chronic about this one. Have you heard this one yet, guys? Maybe I should save it for later because we'll play it again at the end. What the hell? Hey, we have time, right? Rollo Tomassi on why he finally agreed to appear on Dr. Phil.
He's very, very professional. I love her.
Dr. Phil's canceling his show. I wonder if this had anything to do with it.
She's like Gen Xer.
Yeah.
And when I saw Dr. Phil do Joe Rogan, I was like, maybe I'll do it. Right? Maybe I'll do this. Maybe there, because I don't know how much longer he has as a show, as a contract anyway.
Actually, just he's ending it this year.
But
in case you didn't hear, Rolo. Nice diaper on your head.
So I'm on Joe Rogan, and I said, you know what? Maybe I'll say yes this time. Okay. Because if I don't say yes.
If you don't say yes to Dr. Phil and get on there and appear, what could possibly happen? Rolo, tell me what horrible thing might happen if you didn't show up on Dr. Phil.
Someone like Destiny will.
Okay.
Someone.
Okay. All right.
Like God knows who, right? Sneeko or whoever will say yes. Mm-hmm. They'll say yes to that and they will fuck it up.
Well, possibly. Anyone else you wouldn't want to see on Dr. Phil?
And I'm like, who else is going to go in there and do this?
I don't know. You must be a god, Rolo. No one else but you could handle Dr. Phil. Where can I send money? Can I light a shrine? Can I burn a cat for you or something? You're the godfather.
And I mentioned this back when I made the announcement back in, I think, the end of October, early November.
Yes.
I said exactly the same thing. So I'm kind of picking up the story here for you.
Okay.
So my thinking, and I think I was pretty, thanks, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, right. Yeah. Go get Hammer. Yeah. Can you imagine Hammer?
Oops. Almost missed it.
I said exactly the same thing. So I'm kind of picking up the story here for you.
Did you guys hear this yet? Shots fired. Shots fired. Hammerhand is in the building. Hello, sir. How are you? Oh, yeah. You wouldn't play this, but I'm going to play it, sir. And Undead Chronic. Oh, God. Yeah, he's got a 5.5-hour live stream. But here's the takeaway from this little bit.
So my thinking, and I think I was pretty, thanks, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, right. Yeah. Go get Hammer. Yeah. Can you imagine Hammerhand in that scenario?
Yes. I think he would have done a better job, to be honest with you.
Can you imagine Undead Chronic on Dr. Phil?
Oh my God, you guys. Are you wetting your pants? Rolo, the great tomato, mentioned you guys in a disparaging way. Who would ever guess?
Role in the same position that I was in on that show. Think of I said exactly the same thing. So I'm kind of picking up the story here.
I mean, Destiny, okay. But I think Hammerhand he'd do a fine job
for you. So my thinking, and I think I was pretty, thanks, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, right. Yeah. Go get Hammer. Yeah. Can you imagine Hammerhand in that scenario? Can you imagine Undead Chronic on Dr. Phil?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can imagine both of them. I think it'd be a fantastic time. All right, Rolo. Now that you've insulted the OGs here, well, I guess you're a double OG. But you got to admit, guys, he does have a nice diaper on his head. I mean, that's it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, this is a yeah. Not that I wouldn't. Oh no, not. Shots fired. Does he say that? I think he actually does. Go ahead.
Can you imagine Sneeko on Dr. Phil? Can you imagine Destiny on Dr. Phil in the same role or the same position that I was in on that show? Think about that for a minute. Now, it's not shots fired. I'm not shooting. I'm not, you know, I don't give two shits, right?
Shots fired. Shots fired. Oh God, the fun we have, huh? That's Rollo Tomato. Link in the description if you want to watch 5.5 hours of him complaining about his experience. Well, I mean, it was interesting. You know, there's always that interesting behind the scenes sort of TV stuff because it's a different environment, right? It's television. I've been on actual TV once, and it was like a telethon or something. But it's interesting to see behind the scenes. But if you're interested in hear what he has to say, but it's 28:45 if you care about him firing shots at Chronic and Hammerhead. There you go, boys. All right. So let's see if we can get this one up. What do we have here? Well, here's the deal. I was just laying in bed this afternoon. I got up early, did some work, and I'm like, you know what? I got a couple more things to do. I'll do them tomorrow. F it. So I thought I'm going to take a nap. So I laid down for like 15 minutes just to get a little, just shut the brain off for a minute. I get up and on my phone, there's a video in my suggested list from this group of lovely ladies called Hysteria. Like the Def Leppard song Hysteria. Link also in the description below. And the title of their video, What's the Matter with Men? It's Not Women. This is the Hysteria podcast. Goes on for 33 minutes. We're going to go through a couple of little bits here because Iridium Kush has a stream at 10, and let's see how much we can get through. Of course, there's no bias here, of course. There's well, blah, 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 because, you know, it's not women. It's got those evil men. Everything is all effed up because of the patriarchy and just white supremacy. I've never heard this before. It's all brand new. Go.
It's like gently used clothes, but like, who cares?
Okay.
Of course, all the things I like are like $600, and I'm saying it back.
Now that we've talked about stuff that would be considered by many to be girly, let's talk about men. And
let's talk about the evil men. And what your solution would be.
What's wrong with them?
Yeah, what is wrong with us?
What's wrong with men? So there's an article that came out in the New Yorker this week, and it's a review of a book by Richard V. Reeves, who
he was on the very same show with Rollo Tomato on Dr. Phil, and we also did a 3-minute breakdown of why men suck and boys are stupid, and but at least he recognizes that there's a problem. Go on.
He is a British American academic who studies inequality and social mobility. He wrote a book called Of Boys and Men, Why the Modern Male is Struggling, Why It Matters, and What to Do About It.
Why should you care if men are struggling? You've been oppressed for millions of years, ladies. You've been oppressed for millions of years. It's your turn to shine in the sunshine. Isn't it?
So I'm going to read a little excerpt from this review from the New Yorker.
Okay. Well, we're all excited about this. I'm certain. We're getting revved up now. Mita Suomi is from Finland. Hello. Feminist. Tell us what you really think, Pliskin. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Again, the link is in the description. So feel free to listen all you want. It's there. Thumper says it couldn't possibly be. No. No, it couldn't be. It's got to be evil men because we're racist and shit and whatever and stuff. Sons of patriarchy. Damn it. No Uggo warning. Sorry. Yeah, I should have put a trigger warning up. My apologies. Oh God, yes. You got it. Thumper, you got it, baby. Oh God. Well, let's give them a chance to say their well, let's see what they have to say.
Men now confront the prospect of cultural redundancy, Reeves writes. He sees telltale signs in the way that boys are floundering at school, and men are leaving work and failing to perform their paternal obligations.
Men are leaving work and failing to perform their paternal obligations. Well, I'm sure in some cases that's probably true. Tell me about the 40% of women who shit out vaginal turds without a dad around. Up to 70% among Black American women. Nothing there. No? So 45% of young boys in this country, in the United States, are raised without a father in the home. And who doesn't allow the father in the... Nope. All single women with kids. It's because the guy was a scumbag and he ran off with the circus after he impregnated that poor victim. Oh, of course it is.
All this, he says, has landed hardest on Black men whose life prospects have been decimated by decades of mass incarceration.
Fair point.
And on men without college degrees whose wages have fallen in real terms.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Whose life expectancies have dropped markedly and whose families are fracturing at astonishing rates.
Well, they don't even have families at this point. If you don't have a college degree, you don't get married. Economically viable man, girls. If you've been missing the memos for the last few years, like I guess so.
Things have become so bad so quickly that emergency social repairs are needed. Quote, it's like the needles on a magnetic compass reversing their polarity, Reeves writes. Suddenly, working for gender equality means focusing on boys rather than girls.
Uh-oh. Shots fired. What do you mean? No. Women are the ones who are oppressed in this country. You evil man, you. Don't you know? What do you mean you're going to focus on boys? They're all privileged. Well, except the black ones. They're all privileged white men. Do you think they're going to say something along those lines? How much would you like to bet?
That's what we will call the nut graph in this review. Julissa, I would love to hear your thoughts on this article and the subject matter that the book takes on.
Yes, let's hear your thoughts, Julissa.
What do you think of that passage?
I think it's fair.
I think that it really illustrates the way that Americans think about many of the problems that plague our country.
He was specifically referring to the problem we're having with boys. But go on ahead and include the women.
Like always trying to find a scapegoat instead of trying to find real solutions for...
He didn't say anything about a scapegoat. Nothing. He just said, hey, maybe it's time we start looking at boys because they're falling behind. You know, women are doing great. Boys are not. Little girls have no problem. They got college. They got that under control. They got all the school are doing very well. The boys aren't. We need to look at that. He didn't blame anyone for it. He just said we should look at it. Go on.
For very real problems. Like all of the things that you mentioned are real problems. Mass incarceration is a problem.
Right.
The fact that, more men are dying by suicide than any other time in history is a problem.
Yes, it is. So let's look at those problems and see if we can do something about them. What do you think? Donald Trump with the incarceration. No, that didn't count.
The fact that, men or boys are dropping out of high school and dropping out of college at
really
really high alarming rates is a problem. Like all
I hadn't heard this before, but okay.
All of those things are real problems.
I wonder if there are some men that just aren't being accepted to college because of reasons. Perhaps the color of their skin.
But the source of that problem is not the success that women are having.
Nobody said it was. That is very, very good, Julissa. Congratulations on becoming a mother. She and her husband are having a baby. How did you get from we need to start looking at boys because they have the problems you listed and more, and turn that into somehow if we do that, we're going to do something against women as a scapegoat? How did you get there? How did that happen? Now, for years, Julissa, we have been told that it isn't a zero-sum game, or is it a zero-sum game? Which is it? Just because women are being pushed, this and men can't do it. No, now it's a zero-sum game, is it? Oh, God, the contradictions. You got to love these academic twats, don't you? Oh, what did you, Thumper, why are you so mean? Oh, you have a stream? Yeah, I'll be over there in a little bit. All right. Yep. I'll be there. You doing it tonight? Yeah, I'll come over. Maybe you're doing it already. Oh, you're gonna do Rolo? Oh yeah, I will be there at 10. All right, so let's get through this anyway. So we went from clearly there's some problems with our young boys in this country. Mr. Reeves did not scapegoat anyone. He just said, hey, maybe we need to start looking at this because the real gender imbalance today is between women achieving much more and boys not. Okay.
The source of that problem is not little girls.
Mr. Reeves didn't say that. Are you reading the same article we just looked at? Or maybe you're editing and you read a different part of it. I don't think so.
And the solutions to those problems are not going to be found in women achieving less.
Who suggested that? I don't know, guys. Did you get that out of that short article? I certainly didn't. Go ahead.
So like when I hear the biggest the people that it's affecting the most is Black men, it so reminds me of when conservatives talk about immigration, right?
Okay. He said the mass incarceration is affecting Black men disproportionately. There's no question about that. There are a lot of Black dudes in jail, without question. But Black men not in jail also are suffering from the same problems as white men, mostly, and other perhaps Hispanic men. Yeah, go ahead.
And they say Black Americans are the ones hardest hit by illegal aliens taking their jobs. And it's like, no, actually, undocumented people are not to blame for white people losing their jobs, right?
We're talking about Black guys. You just said Black men, and now it's white men. It was illegal aliens, which is the correct term, and then undocumented migrants. Julissa, what the hell are you talking about?
Right. And so I think that my biggest takeaway with this article is just that we are trying to find a scapegoat and trying to find solutions where there are none to be found.
Okay. Well, I didn't read that in that one paragraph, but okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. Dana, what do you have to add?
I completely agree. I think the problem
Completely? Are you sure?
isn't that like there is some big problem happening with men, but I think
There is, actually.
the problem is the perceived problem.
The problem is the perceived problem, not a real problem. Is that right?
I do think it's a true reality that men are framing themselves, a lot of men, as particularly young men online, figuring out like ways that they are victims and they feel wronged by like this culture war that's happening.
Okay. And this is a problem?
And I think that we can get in this like recursive argument about like,
Or is it a perceived problem? It's not really happening, gentlemen. No. Even though boys are far behind in a lot of very important areas, it's a perceived problem. It's not true. Women are the oppressed ones. I know, XYZ. I know. I knew you guys would like this one. Okay, Aaron.
Are men as a whole suffering cultural changes that are costing them something, or are they just like looking for reasons to justify X or Y behavior? And
Justify XY behavior. Go on.
I feel like it's probably the latter. Like, I don't know. I don't like anything that divides us up in those like arbitrary things. Like, men are people, women are people. Everyone is individuals doing these things. And
you're very, very, very homophobic there, though. Men are people. What about the trans people? Are they not people? Ooh.
These like
again, throw it back in their faces, guys. Just do it. Throw their own bullshit back.
Culture war headlines just give fodder to people on the right who are like, go back to traditional values. Like, this headline, for whatever nuance the book has, and particularly for men of color, these communities of color that are struggling, the consequence of this is that racist, white supremacist people are going to read this headline and feel emboldened by their culture war bullshit.
Racist white supremacists, obviously men, are going to be emboldened to care about the plight of black men. The white supreme guys are going to, oh my God.
Alyssa, what were your initial thoughts?
So I really went into this.
Oh, this is a classic academic feminist here, without question.
This article with a perspective like of what I thought it was going to be, and actually I found it really fucking interesting.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
I think that a couple things. One, I feel like overall when they talk about what's happening, specifically to men, specifically white men in a lot of this, it's like, yeah, guess what?
Except he mentioned black men and the incarceration rate. All the other problems he mentioned affects all men. But keep going with the racial angle here, dear. Have you had your cup of CRT this morning?
Man, women are thriving because they've had to be resilient because nobody read articles about why we might not be thriving for the last 100 years.
I've got to play that again.
What's happening, specifically to men, specifically white men in a lot of this. It's like, yeah, guess what, man? Women are thriving because they've had to be resilient because nobody read articles about why we might not be thriving for the last 100 years.
No one has read articles for the last 100 years about why women might not be thriving. Are you out of your fucking mind? There has been nothing but articles about women not thriving under the evil patriarchy for the last 100 years. Are you fucking serious? These twats have every advantage and handout for the last 50 years, and they still complain. Unfucking believable. Oh my God. Go on.
And taking interest in it. Like, the one thing I found like conflicted about is I was so interested in what the article had to say, and I was like, no man would have read this article about women 40 years ago and been like, well, this is very interesting. I should learn more.
40 years ago was 1983. Trust me, babe. Men were paying attention. Everyone was paying attention, trying to do whatever we could to make you witches shut the fuck up. Except by 1983, 40 years ago, all of your problems were solved. And yet here we are 40 years later, you're still complaining.
Yeah, men weren't buying the feminine mystique in droves.
No. I read it, but I wouldn't buy it.
They were
No,
like that.
no.
That was not
Or
the
Simone de
target demo.
Beauvoir.
Yeah.
I read it. I would never buy it because it's absolute fucking communist garbage. Dear. Would you like me to read a few lines for you?
Right.
And the thing that I thought was very interesting was when some of the economists, actually one who I knew, Alan Kruger, who is an
Oh.
incredible, thoughtful man, who was the head of the economics department at Princeton.
Uh-huh.
He's since passed away. He was cited in this article so many interesting things. Roughly a third of non-working men reported some kind of disability. Of those men, nearly half were taking pain medication and opioids on a daily basis.
Well, they're reporting they have some kind of disability. Maybe an injury from a war. You do remember we did have some wars going on up until very recently. Could have been those men that were injured fighting for this country. So yes, they might need some pain medication. What is your fucking point, dear?
And there I was like, this is interesting because when you actually look at a lot of what they're saying, these are also, if you do research into like QAnon or tools that the Ku Klux Klan uses to recruit people.
They just cannot get away from race. The opening part of the headline accounted for more black men in prison. And Hamster is saying the problems that were addressed affect all men. And you cannot stop trying to make it racial. The Ku Klux Klan. You mean those 1,000 people in this country? QAnon, don't even know what the fuck it is. I don't care. Go on.
These are the people they target, which is why I think it's interesting for us to understand sort of what's going on here. But they lost me then when they were like, and the quality of video games is shot through the roof. And that's been a real problem. It's like, could you imagine if I was like, do you want to know why women weren't working that much in the 80s? Fucking the quality of days of our lives was through the roof.
Okay. You said a third of all men who weren't working, whatever the fuck it was, half of them were sick and they take pills. Could guys get a fucking break? Maybe these guys are injured and they can't work. So are you being envious of men who were on the government dole who can't work because they were injured in a war or at work or in workman's comp? What the? Gone.
We're just like, you know what? Not for me. But
Well, that's what you really want to do is just laugh at men. Isn't it?
when they went down that route, I was like, oh, you've lost me. But I did think that much of what was in the article was worth knowing and was interesting and instructive.
I agree. I mean,
go ahead.
I think that was my main problem with the article is there were interesting points that they made, but the headline and the illustration, which Liz Plank pointed out on Twitter, which is a woman like leapfrogging over a man, like pushing him down, I think belies the how nuanced the point could be.
I want
how nuanced the point could be. Yeah, I know. I know, Thumper. I know you got injured and you're God. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, go over and get on Undead Chronic stream, and I think we're going to continue this tomorrow because I think it's worth it. All right. See you guys later. Bye.